Hello and welcome to the channel of the Terminology Coordination Unit of the European Parliament. My name is Nadezhda Krsteva-Sheva, or Adi for short, and I'm one of the main terminology coordinators in TermCoord. And this is our series dedicated to IATE, especially for external users. In the very first video, I gave you an overview of IATE, what features you can use as external or guest users, and I promise to continue this series dedicated to external users. So this is our second video tutorial, and I'll devote this to the very basic search. Before we start with this, just pay attention, please, that I am logged on. You can see Adi Sheva as a guest user. Well, in order to use or to perform the basic search, you do not have to be logged on. You can perform it without any problems. The only issue would be that you cannot use the more advanced features of IATE. You cannot bookmark or put this to a folder of favorites. You cannot, for instance, download IATE. You cannot download collections you would like to have. It only takes a second to log on. If you don't have the the European Union log in, I'll just log off for a second. You can create it here, create a new account using EU login, but more details you'll find in the very first video. Okay, so let's log on again and start with our basic search. So this is the magnifying glass here, and under it you can see the search and search by collection. So this one, the first tab, search, is what we call the basic search. So you see I have already put down an IATE ID. Ideally, if you search for a term, you can have this IATE ID. If you have it, you just type or copy the number and you go on the magnifying glass here. And it will only search for this exact term, nothing more, nothing less. You see the results, it's only 1 from 1. So this is obviously the term we've been looking for. If you don't have the number, the IATE ID, and this is usually the case, you just start typing, for instance, rule of law, and you can see you already have some suggestions here. So rule of law was the term I was looking for. We'll just wait a little bit, and we can see the results here, 1 to 10 on the first page, and altogether 83. So let's have a look at this search function. First of all, let me show you something. The source language and the target language, you cannot see them here, but if you click here and the target language, you can see what actually in which languages the machine was looking in. So the source language for me by default is English, and target languages, I have all the 24 languages of the European Union. This you can change, or you can set your user preferences here, and you can, for instance, take all the languages or just one of them, and don't forget to save this. Right, so let's go back to our search. So these languages are absolutely necessary to be there, at least one language, source language and target language. So let's say you're not looking for a term in 24 languages, you're looking for a term in, for instance, Slovenian, Danish, German, and French. This is how you select. You go on the search again. And here you have the selected languages: English, Danish, German, French, and Slovenian. So at least one language. If you do not select any language, let's take this out, and nothing is selected. We go on search again. Please select at least one language, IATE says, and does not allow me to perform the search. That's why I'll go to my default settings, English, into all of these languages, 24 languages. Before I have I'll go on search, so I have them already. But before we have a look at all these 83 terms, or some of them, I would like to show you something. So here at this level, you can see bookmarks, last queries, standard view, and interpreter's view. So let's have a look at this. The bookmarks can be very useful if you are selecting terms for a special list, if you want to put them in a dedicated list for, let's say, audiovisual terminology or whatever topic you're working on. So how you do this, the bookmarks, if you click here, you go to the bookmarks, which are also under the preferences under your name. So you see I have two lists here, my favorites and miscellaneous, and this is the default list, and it's quite easy to create a list, and this is only possible if you are logged on. So let's give it a name 1, for instance, and you just go on the plus, and here it is. So I have now 1, 2, 3. When I have more than 1, I can set the default list. So in my case, it's my favorite. So this is the first list, and you can see it here, default list. So whatever I like, it will go to my favorites. More about this in a second. So let's go back to the search. The last queries is also interesting, because here you can see all the terms that you've been looking for. So these are your last queries. And the standard view is by default your normal view. So I'll go back to the search again, and we have the 83 terms in all 24 languages. And if we scroll down, this is one concept. We scroll down, this is a next concept, another IATE ID, scroll down, yet another one. So we have 83 of them. This is what you see when you have the standard view, which is by default. Let me show you the interpreter's view. So I click here, interpreter's view, and this is what you see. So this was actually created for the interpreters, but I personally find it very, very useful, because like this you can see all the languages at one level, and you also have the additional informations and in which collections this term are taking part in. So this is really interesting if you're looking for more terms, because if you have the IATE ID number, of course, and you're looking for only one term, then it's not necessary to see it that way. But you have more, like we have here, 83, then it can be very, very useful. So let's go back to the standard view so that I can show you what is actually there to be seen on this main page of the basic view. So first of all, we can see results. So altogether 83, 1 to 10 on the first page. These are the pages. What we see is the IATE ID itself with a primary star. Not all of the terms actually have a primary star. This is a sign of quality, and usually this term is already to be seen, to be found in all the 24 languages of the European Union. If we scroll down, we can see the available languages on the left with the terms themselves. And here when we see French, we see a little anchor. That means that this is the anchor language actually. So this was the language in which the term was created, the very first term. If we go back a little bit, here on the top of it, so we see not only the primary star and the IATE ID, but also the domain. And this is quite important because one term can mean different, well, one word actually can be different terms in different domains, different concepts. And as you know, IATE is concept-based, so a word such as body, for instance, can mean something in the administrative sense, but can mean something else in the medicine. So, for instance, here, rule of law, we see it in English, or principle of the rule of law. It is in the domain source of law. If we scroll down, we can see more or less the same rule of law, but this is in another domain. It is already civil law. And we can see here that rule of law is a synonym, actually, of legal rule. And this is absolutely not the same as the principle of rule of law, which was the concept, the first concept. And this is reflected in all the other languages. You can see it also in French, which was our anchor language for the first term. So what we see more, apart from the primary star, the IATE ID, the domain, and the available languages? Of course, we see the terms themselves. This is quite important, and actually the most important feature of IATE. Then you see the reliability. So here, if you hover, you can see what it means. It is a reliable term. With 4 stars here, very reliable. So you can count on all the terms that are with 3 or 4 stars. 3 stars doesn't mean that it's a bad term. On the contrary, 3 and 4 stars are the best terms. 2 stars would not necessarily mean that it's a bad term, but the terminologist was not so sure. Probably it was a new term, or probably it's just an abbreviation that it's not very common. So 2 stars means, well, be careful about this, but you can still use it. And of course, 1 star, you should be very careful about these terms, because usually they are not of good quality. If we move to the right, we see some icons here. So if we hover over these icons, we can see what they contain. So this is the term reference, the definition of the term, the language level node. We have term in context, and this is quite important to see, because you see the term, how it really lives, how it is in this a lively environment. It's not just something in a book. Additional information, and if you click here on the expand menu, you see all this information at one glance. So the term reference, definition, and so on and so forth. And here the last thing you can see is who owns the owner of this term. Here, and this is exactly why I showed you the bookmarks before, you can actually just click on this when you're logged on and add it to your bookmarks list. So this is in general what you can see on the first page. Of course, you can go into the entry itself and see much more about the collections, about some more additional information, but this is going to be the subject of our next video tutorial. So if you have any questions, if you have more demands about other video tutorials, let us know. If you like our video, let us know. We are very open to making new video tutorials. It's just up to you. So thanks for watching, and see you soon. Bye bye.